Hi, everyone. I'm Ken Jacobs. Welcome back to Taking the Lead, where we speak with respected PR and communications leaders, but generally not about PR and communications, but about something that, if I may, I think is actually more important, and that's leadership. And in a few minutes, you're going to meet our guest today. It's Emily Poe. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's the group president, Integrated Communications, Real Chemistry, formerly known to many of you as the W2 Group, but they've been Real Chemistry for a bit. She was the chief integration officer, chief client officer, global practice lead of healthcare communications there, previously an EVP at Conan Wolf. She's worked with some amazing clients in the space, such as Pfizer, Merck, Bayer, Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech. I'm going to ask her to pronounce that one when we get to her. PTC Therapeutics, Kowa, and Otsuka, to name a few. Her degree is in biological science from Cornell, where she published a paper on genetic implications of insect neurobehavior in the journal Nature. And she is the first taking the lead guest who can make the claim. And I'm going to guess you're going to be our only guest who can ever make that claim. So that makes you special. Everyone, we're going to welcome to the video Emily Poe.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We're
Nice
very
to be
excited
here.
to have you today and keep us posted on is there anyone else publishing that kind of paper? But I
I will
think you're
certainly let
good.
you know.
I
Absolutely.
think you're good. I think you're going to wear the crown well. Okay, we have a few things in common. One of them is theater and entertainment, but we're not going to bore you all with that. But so let's just start. You're the group president for integrated communications, but we are in an era, and frankly, we've been in an era where all communications are or should be integrated. So what does that really mean for you?
Yeah, we agree that they should be, and we typically make sure that they are. So, at Real Chemistry, we define integrated communications as leveraging any and all channels necessary to reach and engage audiences. Earned media is an important channel that we use to educate, build credibility, and reach people, but it's only one that we work in. So, social media, influencers, digital media, real life interactions are some of the others that we bring to our work. What's really important to us is that integrated communications happens when you understand your audiences. So listen to them, understand what they need, where they go to get information, who they trust, and what else is happening in their lives, because these are real people. That information guides how, where, and with what we communicate to them. And that's how we define integrated communications.
And it's interesting you bring that up because in the area of leadership, where I think we all can do better, the notion of really listening, the notion of understanding where your followers really are is so important. Then again, I've always believed there are such similarities between effective leadership and effective communication. So there you are. So for many years you worked for a true entrepreneur, company founder, taking the lead guest, Jim Weiss,
Mm-hmm.
fellow Newhouse grad.
Yep.
Now you work for Shankar, and I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Let's take a goal. Narayanan?
Narayanan. Yep.
Narayanan, okay, wrong emphasis. Who became the company's CEO in January of 2022. I'm just going to guess he has a different leadership style than Jim's. So, what are the most critical things a senior level executive has to know and has to do when we have a new CEO?
Mm-hmm. Well, each CEO, just like any employee, really in any role, brings their own knowledge and experience. And when working with a new leader, understanding what that experience brings to the company, the team, your relationship is helpful. So the transition from a founder CEO of Jim to a new to the company CEO like Shankar is a really important inflection point for us as a maturing company. And I'm excited we're at this point. From my experience, for a senior level executive with a new CEO, I'd say it's critical to do three things. First, at a high level, bring the new CEO into the fold about your role, responsibilities, area of accountability, and most importantly, your priorities. Second, be open and approach the shift as a way to reevaluate how you've historically worked and grown. And third, ask questions. Learn about the new CEO, understand who they are as a person, where they come from, what their goals are, why they joined your company, and how you together can help achieve a shared success. Because this should be the start of a long and successful relationship, hopefully friendship. Being on the same page is as important as anything to do that.
Great, great counsel. So let's shift to something more serious. You've
Mhm.
been public about the fact that your mom lived with severe hearing and speech impairment, severe mental illness, and ultimately metastatic breast cancer. I believe you were a caregiver, and I appreciate
Mhm.
your
Yeah,
honesty in that. What impact has all of that had on how you lead others?
sure. I have been public about it. I think it's important that as healthcare communicators, when we feel comfortable, we do share our own personal experiences. I think that that is an important part of the fight against the stigma of some of these diseases and conditions that my mother lived with. So beyond that, though, my mother's own health issues and my role as her caregiver, even as a child, helping her communicate with her doctors, meant that I, for one, can't imagine being in any other type of communications than healthcare communications. Um, it's what I feel like I've always done since I was a kid, really, to be honest. And as a leader in the field, though, I've always been excited to share my passion for translating the latest scientific advances into what's meaningful for real people, real patients, real caregivers, the real treaters of these people. And so I use my experience to always try to put myself into the patient and caregiver shoes, which I think has made me a stronger healthcare communicator. And I encourage my teams to do the same and really to also remember that what we put out into the world has the power to create tremendous hope. That can also come with disappointment. So we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard to communicate responsibly.
So very true. And I think I tend to be a bit of an optimist. I believe in positivity. Hopefully it's not toxic positivity,
Hmm.
but I do look for the opportunity, and I do think one good thing we've gotten out of the pandemic and lockdown and everything associated with it, I think we are talking about mental illness a lot more. I think
Hmm.
we're
For
encouraging
sure.
people to take care of it and have honest dialogue around it. And I've got to think that's got to do some good for the world. So again, thank you for sharing that. So you've publicly stated that you believe in transparency, credibility, and inclusivity in healthcare communications, but how do you apply those tenets or those skills, whatever you want to call them,
Hmm.
in how you lead your teams?
Yeah. So leadership, in my view, is really all about communications, both what we as leaders share and what we as leaders listen to. My personal style is to be as transparent as possible. In an organization like ours, where change is constant, communications is key to helping people understand the unknown and to not fear it, but to see the opportunities that change creates. And, for me, I think the fact that I've been here at Real Chemistry for many years, put in the time like our teams does, work hand in hand with clients, have over the years complained to leadership when I wasn't yet one, and just understand much of what this team does day in and day out. I think that helps me show up as a credible leader that can represent this team to the world because I can speak their language. I also try to share information that's hard to share as often as the fun, easy news to share. And I'm open to listening to what isn't working or addressing those challenging questions, even those that I might not always have the answer to yet. Because I don't feel like I can ask teams, especially a team of communicators, to join me on this journey if they don't trust me or aren't connected to what we're building together. And you also mentioned inclusivity, which is so important, Ken. One of those areas we're building together is around making Real Chemistry into a more inclusive organization, one that we're all proud of and want to be at. Just like the rest of the world, this is an area where I feel like we are making improvements, but we aren't there yet. For me, though, inclusive communications is partly about the language we use, right? And the way we behave, but also how we listen to those who may not yet feel included and make changes to behaviors, policies based on that. You know, when you're leading a team of communicators, I can tell you that they have no fear in calling you out when you forget that. And I'm glad for it, right? Because communications as a leader should always be a two-way street.
It's interesting you mentioned so many important things there. One that resonated was the notion of trust. People follow leaders they trust. If there is no trust, there's no relationship. If there's no trust, they're not following you. They're
Mm-hmm.
simply not. They choose,
Yep.
they may come in every day, do the work, check the box, but that's not followership.
Mm-hmm.
And you must have trust, number one. So I'm glad you
Absolutely.
mentioned that. Okay, now we're
Absolutely.
going to go to something a little more fun. Not everyone knows that at age 11, you acted alongside Burt Lancaster and Macaulay Culkin in Rocket Gibraltar.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to watch it. And I want to call you out. I want to embarrass you publicly. Why does your
Mm,
bio mention them and not mention amazing performers, Patricia, who have just gone on to, Patricia Clarkson, Francis Conroy, Bill
yep.
Pullman, who is related to Warren Wilson College, which is near and dear to my heart, John Glover, Sinead Cusack, David Hyde Pierce. Okay, that's kind of it. So we're not going to call you on that. But what was that experience like as a kid? Did you
Yeah,
realize how great these actors were, or just
I sort of did at the time. You know, it was acting in Rocket Gibraltar was truly a once in a lifetime experience. Looking back on it now, I appreciate that more. But I was always involved in the film industry. My father, Amos Poe, is an independent filmmaker. He wrote Rocket Gibraltar, and that was one of his most mainstream films. And I acted or otherwise worked on this and a few other of his movies when I was young. But if you watch the movie, not an inspired or particularly talented actor, unlike some of the other wonderful actors which you named, who I was lucky enough to work with. Burt Lancaster and Macaulay Culkin, just for reference, were the two main leads, which is
okay?
why they are called out in my bio. But you know, these other actors are fabulous. Um, so while I didn't learn to be a great actor necessarily, what I did learn from the experience was a lot, and I think a lot of that I do likely tap as a leader. One of the things that really, you know, I think landed well with me that I carry every day is from that experience was that the difference between hard work and having fun shouldn't be separate to be successful. So if you watch the movie, and I'm sure that you and everyone else who watches this will, you'll see that there's a group of us who play the children, who play a set of cousins visiting their grandfather, and the grandfather was played by Burt Lancaster. Macaulay Culkin was the youngest of our group. Um, we were together for months shooting the film on location. And this group of children really became a team, almost a family. We were in it together, freezing cold shoots in, the Atlantic Ocean in the fall, difficult conditions, schooling together. We had a tutor that we all shared. And even there was a point where the group of girls banded together to ask for equal space in the costume trailer, equal space for the girls and the boys. Um, but either way, we really bonded and we laughed together, and that's how we made it through. And to this day, I try to always build teams that know that if you can rely on each other and laugh together, you can really get through anything and come out on top.
What a great ending for our time today. It's gone like that. I just want to thank you again, Emily Poe, for joining us on Taking the Lead. And thank you all. And until next time, keep taking the lead.